you mentioned about sense of belonging and that being a real sort of important thing for students. I wonder if you could sort of talk a little bit about that and some of the findings that you had on that side of things.
Um, so sense of belonging at a university is huge. And because of some of the granularity we were able to have, you could really see that sense of belonging had a very strong influence, especially during those early years at university. And so freshmen who weren't able to find a sense of belonging were far more likely to drop out than those who had a stronger sense of belonging. And we were working hand in hand with our athletics department and looking at the lift that students got from attending games. And one of the things that we saw, especially for our freshmen and sophomore, that attending a sporting event was a huge lift in their persistence. And that's because they had this sense of belonging, a sense of community. And because we had this early alert system, we didn't just do a blanket invitation, but we looked at those who were yellow and orange and red, and we're able to send a really specific invite that says, hey, next basketball game you come to, get a free popcorn and a drink on us. And that increased the number of people who were yellow, orange, and red attending basketball games. And that put them in a place where they could develop a sense of community and a sense of belonging within the organization. And for that small lift of a drink and a popcorn, they were able to have a significant increase in the number of freshmen and sophomores that persisted to the next semester. And even more significantly, they persisted we see the greatest drop during our summer months. So a freshman might go through their fall and their spring, and then we call it the summer melt. And we just lose a bunch of those freshmen going into their sophomore year. But we saw a significant lift that would typically be lost in the summer melt returning because they had built a sense of belonging for the cost of a beverage and a popcorn. And it was a huge success at the university.
That's that's fascinating. How did you track the students then? How did you the ones which you sent these tokens to? How did you track that they were actually going to these games and
Yep.
were persistent on
So
that?
we use a system where their student ID is scanned to get into the game. So there's a student section at our football games, basketball games, gymnastics meets. And if you scan, you're able to get in. And so because they have these scans, you're able to then track um, who is attending. But the reason that we needed to work hand in hand with this organization is because they then own their participation data, their student ID scans. And so by working together, we were able to break down a data silo to show that these types of scans coming into basketball games and football games and gymnastics meets, those all have a sway on student persistence and data that exists at a larger university level. So working interdepartmentally became really important for these types of analyses that we were doing.